looking impressive. Jin Air looking strong and looking like they'll be the first team from this tournament to write their names into LCK Summer 2017.
And it would be so good, because I feel like the LCK is a situation where if Jin Air's not there, you feel a little bit lost. You know, they've just been there for so long.
You know, I thought the same about CJ Entus, and over the course of the season, we kind of got through the trauma of having one of the original orgs taken away. I, for one, love the Glad plane, the Sad plane, and all the Jin Air specific things they bring. So I agree.
Yep, the meme work would certainly suffer if Jin Air were no longer here. But let's have a look at what happens, what changes are going to be made here as Kongdoo going to take away the Twitch and the LeBlanc actually on their side of the map. Jin Air going to get rid of the Graves and that Malzahar as well. The pesky Malzahar. And thank goodness the Graves is gone, because Umpty had a disgusting performance last time.
Where will the confidence be for Jin Air to say first pick a Lee Sin that has been a first pickable champion so far this tournament?
Bit of a confusing situation, ladies and gentlemen. I believe Jin Air Greenwings are in fact on the blue side. It's just there's just a bit of a name problem there towards the top. So just ignore that one. Have a look at the players.
That's right. Our overlays fail us, but damn it, your hawk shots are on point.
Nailed it. Don't worry, Papa Smithy. I am the observant one.
Hey, look at that.
Ho-ho!
Like it never happened.
Oh, goodness. If Umpty can have the same performance against Punch now on his Lee Sin, that would be terrifying. But the Jace is going to be picked away from Sohan or potentially Kuzan immediately. And there's the Syndra as well. So Kongdoo say, well, if it worked for you, we're going to do the same thing.
But fighting fire with fire for Kongdoo has not been something that has traditionally worked for them. So Jin Air able to first pick away the Lee Sin, and Punch was very unlikely to take it in his rotation. I don't think he was willing to go for another performance on that pick. Now looking for the rest of the draft from Jin Air. There's been a lot of Karma bans this series. They're going to take it early. My first instinct is that will be a mid lane Karma from Kuzan, but no guarantee given that Ashe Karma has been one of the most picked duo lanes so far in Champion Spring.
Yep, it certainly could work, but I do like them having the flex options. Can pick Snowflower anything that he wants after the ban phase, which could be confusing now for Kongdoo as the Elise is being looked at here for Punch.
And the cool thing is that basically you see how many mid lane bans are thrown your way, and then you reassess on whether you want to have the Karma mid or flex it. So it doesn't show anything. It's a very powerful duo lane, and it does mean that bans sent towards the mid lane could be empty. Ashe is seeing higher priority from Teddy here, even though he's actually struggled on the pick because, well, you see the starting of a poke comp from Kongdoo, a siege comp that they've seen Jin Air pilot recently, and you want to have as much initiation as possible. Something like the Ashe Arrow jumps up in value as high as possible, given that it's already been a staple first or second pick from the AD carry role.
Yeah, I do like, Jin Air's options now. I don't like that Kongdoo didn't decide to pick up something like the Varus for that third pick option, because I have a feeling that will now get banned away, as the Thresh is going to be #1 ban here.
Who's bluffing who?
Yeah.
That's what we're finding out soon. They're expecting mid lane Karma. That's why you see some support bans. They could ban one support and one mid laner.
Maybe Echo gets banned second and they sort of cover their bases somewhat. Would be an interesting decision here from Kongdoo. Kuzan isn't necessarily your classic Echo player. Played it a couple of times.
There's a lot of different ways to look at this.
No, actually hasn't played it at all in the regular season.
They ban Rumble anyway. Rumble versus Jace, a good matchup for Jace, but does get pushed in a little bit, so it's kind of a weird matchup where he does have kill pressure in the mid game, but getting pushed in the early game is such a big thing. This level of play. So no attention paid to the mid, so clearly Kongdoo Monster accepting that an Echo or Ahri could be drafted in this spot to take on the Syndra.
Yeah, Kuzan, of course, played Ahri once. But, I mean, not really a massive Ahri player. Soul. I mean, look at the Lulu, and of course, Lulu very, very strong, but didn't do any good for Kongdoo last time around. They're going to hold on to Soul's pick for that final spot. We'll see whether it is going to be something like a Cogwell that they can throw in there, but with this composition, could be a dangerous one to draft.
I mean, the last time we saw this play from Kongdoo, where they last picked AD carry, we wondered if it would be high risk, and it ended up being the Ezreal.
Yeah.
Just in a kind of safe spot. So he'll be able to reassess. Although management talked about the bus driver being edge, I think Soul is where you really invest if you're trying to look for Kongdoo futures, and even then, maybe you're off that market for now. Nami is selected, so we have a confirmation that will be solo lane Karma, expected to be mid lane. Very late in the draft, they may be looking at Another type of engage.
Ooh.
One of the options available to them was the Camille. That's been looked over quite a lot in this particular series, but finally, we will see the Cannon. It's so one in the roster, much more of an expected Cannon player. We do get this skill matchup in top. When we saw Smeb do this versus Cuvée, was the Cannon coming out, but this is the sort of matchup they can swing either way.
Yeah, and of course there's a reason why Cannon has been banned away a heck of a lot of times. We'll see whether it is going to be the Jace that's able to stand up to it, because Kongdoo would have been expecting this as an option. And once again, Papa Smithy, I mean, this Ezreal last pick, it's not a dangerous thing to pick early. I mean, there's no reason that you're going to save it. However, they just wanted to make sure that they couldn't grab something else instead. And Soul's going to hop straight on the slippery little bugger that is Ezreal. He does need to be getting away from a lot of different things, be that Umpty with the flash kick, be that the slicing Maelstrom, or the Ash Arrow, or a Tidal Wave. Or heck, even Kuzan just running at him and pressing W.
And when it comes to team comps, a lot of damage on the side of Kongdoo Monster. When you go Karma mid lane, it's usually as a facilitator for something like a Kog'Maw or Twitch. It's only the Ashe this time who is a little bit damage capped in terms of kit compared to those two picks. Cannon sure can do a lot of damage, but if you have a skill matchup top lane and somehow Kongdoo can accelerate the Jace, leave it as a pretty emaciated Cannon with very low damage, there may actually be some damage consideration problems for Jin Air in team fights. I feel like Kongdoo should really target the top lane, try to keep the Cannon down, and then just maybe have a team fight advantage, even if their team fighting comp is more of pure damage rather than initiation or tankiness, because no tanks on the side of Kongdoo Monster.
Yeah, it feels like both of these teams are probably going to have a bit of a top lane focus there as well, because, I mean, yes, keeping the Cannon down, but also building him up is going to be a huge deal as well, given the fact that he's going to be relied on for a lot of that damage. That jungle matchup is going to be very important in that storyline.
And the completely decided game 2. We'll see if Edge and Punch can be on the same wavelength, because both of them staunchly played for themselves and both lost in the most dramatic way fashion so early in the game, basically straight up deciding game 2. So the jungle mid lane synergy is going to be under the microscope. No question about Jin Air, but question marks on Kongdoo.
Yeah, well, those questions are going to be answered. Let's hop onto the Rift for game number 3 and possibly our final match between Jin Air and Kongdoo Monster. Well, you can see the fans still certainly cheering for Kongdoo Monster, but we'll see whether they can turn around their mental state right now. Because you guys all know the feeling. When those games go the wrong way, it feels pretty awful jumping back in queue. And that certainly is only magnified on the big stage.
You know, even as a professional player, I felt it as a caster, which is obviously a very different thing to a player, but when you're not happy with your casting and you have to shake it off in the short break and move into the next one, you're like, okay, you end up overthinking things or self-doubt creeps in, and you have to feel that for Punch especially, where you have nothing good to draw away from a previous game, you don't have any time for lingering doubt. You're already backs against the wall. You're already 2 games down, and you have to hope that it's a motivator. For some people, it is the motivator. For some people, it ends up just hurting that level of play. Call it whatever you will. And we have to watch Punch pretty closely this game, and then again, really evaluate the jungle mid lane synergy, because it all came apart in game 2.
Well, do you know what I do when I get a little bit triggered? Is I get really excited about matching skin choices on the bottom side of the map. And Jin Air Greenwings, if there was any tilt in my mind, Papa Smithy, it would be all gone, because look at this coordination and the double bounce Snowflower. Thank you so much. Ebbs and flows are definitely one of the most satisfying things in the game of League of Legends.
You literally talk about it every time the camera
single time.
is on
the
Nami.
Triple bounce is just, it's a good feeling. I will not feel bad about that. Ain't no way.
See, I would also assume you'd be a very thrifty man, because obviously the value of getting both ends is massive on the ebb and flow, but I haven't really found that to be you. Very, very generous man.
Generous is a good way of saying flippant, I think.
Bot lane.
That's what you mean. His Soul's going to get exhausted. Yeah, Teddy has to flash out of the way, though. Can he land the Mystic Shot? Oh my goodness, flash from Snowflower. So double flashes, double extra summoners as well as the heal and exhaust are both down. So Jin Air Greenwings struggling. Oh, Soul, good heal. And good shield comes out. Teddy holding on. This is getting real exciting as Umti, oh god, Soul, he's got no mana left. There's the flash. Umti just wants to guarantee this. First Blood's too easy as he then lands the Q. A bounce is not going to come in for that Evan Flow, and Punch is here. Umti, remember, doesn't have the flash anymore. Punch grabs that kill, but now gets slowed down. Ash there with the auto attacks as well as the Tidecaller's Blessing, and the teleport is going to get cancelled. So 1 for 1. But First Blood going over to Jin Air.
Yeah, really weird teleport from Kuzan. Was going to take the full 3.5 seconds,
oh, yes.
of course.
Okay, so I thought So1 was coming down, so he is going to be there.
Yeah, it was just Kuzan who came through for literally no reason. Could have cancelled and got the refund on the duration. Ends up getting nothing from the teleport, which actually does kind of impact things if you have to think about it. Usually you just give First Blood advantage over the side of Jin Air, but wasted teleport. Also a free back given over to the side of Syndra. One of those things that isn't so reflected in the scoreboard. Only 1 CS difference between the two mid laners, but
we do know that Karma does have a lot of power in these early levels, though. I mean, you get an extra button at level 1. You can always put on that little bit of extra pressure. And Edge not going to have to worry about that at all as he makes his way to the lane with a big wave for him to pick up heading towards his turret. So, yeah, you're right. Not reflected, but still means a lot.
Chalice of Harmony like to be the first buy. Still expecting the Chalice build into the Athenes.
Guga going aggressive. Cute little glitter lands there. Gets himself the money and his Thunderlord's proc.
And against Elise and Syndra especially. Love some of that magic resist. Regen
Don't
of
love
different
that
sorts.
particular item as, ooh, we'll never know whether that Aqua Prison actually landed.
You know, thinking it's going to be Chalice.
Oh my goodness!
6 items. He's done
Never
it.
in the history of League of Legends have we had double Fairy Charm. That's not true.
He's
We
got
used
6
to see
items.
it all the time.
He's ready to go. Late game online. I know we say it spikes early. This is earlier than
Yeah,
expected.
this is a massive power spike early.
Fairy Charm is such a rubbish item.
So
What is it? It's like 25% mana regen or
yeah,
something?
and it costs like no money. There's like no reason for that to exist. And they actually, remember, we took
Why
out
wouldn't he go
one of the
single
items.
Fairy Charm and a refillable potion? Why did he go double Fairy Charm?
One day, that double Fairy
When he
Charm
has
is now gonna
enough
be- is gonna
mana
be
for that
transitioned.
final Q. Well, no, it was only because of the Fairy Charm.
Oh god. It feels a bit archaic.
Yeah, I mean, we
Fairy
used to
Charm.
have Rejuvenation bead.
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore.
Nope.
Wait, I forget the name of the more expensive health regen item.
Yeah, it's same here. I remember the regen one. As there is a fight, Umti has to safeguard his way out, but is he safe is the question. No level 6 here for Edge, and thankfully the mantra inspires there. Oh, Edge gets it with the last auto attack, and Kongdoo Monster on the board strongly here at 6 minutes in. Snowflower still getting aggressed on. Nice stun as he gets a blast cone to get himself over the side, and Edge is landing every single one of these spheres.
Yeah, I love the fact they're going so proactively on the picks. Nicely done. They're taking down Umti. Kongdoo still in with a shout. Not going to find themselves far, far behind in gold. Trying to run the mid lane. Edge picked up blue buff and all of that as well. So good stuff here from the side of Kongdoo Monster.
Now has the level 6 ahead of the curve as well, as Kuzan now 10 CS behind, but well, actually 14, but more importantly, behind in that experience, which means that he's not going to be able to have, you know, the extra power. It doesn't mean a whole lot for Karma, but still does want to keep up, getting that extra health, getting anything more is a good news story. See whether he's going to be using that Mantra W, which I love from Karma.
Mantra or mantra?
I say mantra because I'm an Australian. Yes, and I know that's a cop-out, but it's what we do. We just pronounce A's in weird ways.
Oh, Atlas.
Sorry.
I've missed you. Kilios doesn't understand.
Doesn't understand saying words, dumb.
Only Australian kids understand this.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Polarize 80% of our viewership.
Yep, certainly did. Although, it's a good time zone for Australians.
It
I
is.
imagine a lot of you guys are.
Well, they're not watching the OPL, so they have to watch something.
OPL's not on right now, exactly. Kazan!
Are you just going to
Get
mispronounce
stunned.
every person's name? Come on, I challenge you.
No, I was just
I
stressing
want
the
to
wrong
hear you
syllable.
pronounce every single player's name wrong as they show up on the screen.
I could easily do that, Papa Smithy. Come on, that's not hard. Umti getting in there. Age coming down, and Punch is going to try and steal away this red buff. Snufflore. That one worked. Funnier than expected, as that's going to be a reset on the red. Soul. Is that more just phonetic, though, is the question?
I think that was a bit of a misfire.
Right.
What about this one on the bottom?
TD. Or TD.
He sounds very exotic if you say it that way.
Oh, Edge. Clears that wave. Sorry, Edge.
He can be Edge now. Kuzan one day will get these double fairy charms out of his inventory.
It's just not feeling good.
I mean, the triple rejuve bead, wasn't a fan of that. The double fairy charm, also not a big fan.
I'm feeling really sad, though, because I can't remember the names of Meki Pendant. Meki Pendant, that was the guy.
But what was the health regen one?
Well, I used to build that all the time because I was a massive Force of Nature Mordekaiser fan. I think it still is something of rejuvenation. Oh, goodness. In goes Kuzan. Gets the mantra out there as Umti kicks him back. Picks up the kill. Proactive play now from JAG. Tied up 2-2.
Yeah, really nice mantra into the link from Umti. So much more confident on the Lee Sin than anything we saw in the previous game from Punch.
It was the flash from Kuzan that just looked so good, though, in that play. Really catching Edge off guard.
And the tether range. I feel like all tethers in League of Legends are pretty deceptive. You think about also the chains from LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Tether range being so extended.
And if it's going to proc, if you flash too late, it's going to proc anyway. Let's be honest. So really good to just make sure you close that distance. Any flash that even, like, Edge didn't actually have flash up at the time, but if he had been able to close some distance somehow, there was just no way he could have got out. So on now, possibly in trouble. In goes Punch. Doesn't land the Cocoon. Lightning Rush just a little bit too quick.
You get to get second point into Lightning Rush at level 8 if you are one of these on-hit cannons. So
yeah,
extra movement speed and also the resists mean that very, very tough to take down the Lightning Chipmunk.
I do like this as well. I mean, now that it's not a Cannon versus Rumble matchup, which is the one that we're used to seeing, it's not the Wits End first. It is Blade of the Ruined King being able to pick up first item from the Cannon, going to make him very, very strong. As Soul, oh, that Tyclaw's Blessing giving him a lot of damage to the face. We've got landing these Glitter Lances, but not the max anymore, so not going to be actually doing much damage at all in this support Lulu.
You need to go high damage build. If you're so on, we mentioned that it's pretty much a pure 2 DPS comp from the side of Jin Air. Unless Umti can do his best Peanut impression and beast people with frontline Lee Sin.
Oh, not quite the double bounce at times, but Teddy getting a decent trade onto Soul.
Yeah, Soul's been really good at, I mean, he's a great Ezreal player, but his ability in the 2v2s to do the maximum amount of damage has been
these
great
trades have been really interesting, like micro-wise from both of these players.
Hasn't been able to get any sort of CS advantage because he did die and lost a wave of minions to the turret.
Look at that. Athene's on Holy Grail is done. So this lane becomes, for the lack of a better word, boring. Because the Syndra cannot find a kill, and Kuzan is, of course, not going to be killing Edge anytime soon without the help of Umti. Now hanging out towards this bottom side. Doesn't want to clear this ward. Wants to make sure that his presence is unknown. Edge is losing trades, but still landing all his skill shots.
And again, if people are wondering what the point of the Karma mid lane pick is, it's to basically match Syndra at every point. It's a defensive lane choice. We often see it into LeBlanc. You take teleport and basically run after the LeBlanc at every point and stop her having free split push or free map impact. In this sort of a game, you can actually turn into just a true split push of your own because you're not going to be matched by the Syndra, who often is going to be very much playing only the single lane in the mid lane. So if you get ahead as Kuzan, already one assist to his name, what can happen is Ghost from Edge.
Yeah, he's actually going to run all the way forward. There's the stun after the ult. I like it. Puts down the orb and kills the Karma very easily. Soul's in trouble, though. Tidal Wave has to be flashed, but Teddy flashes right after him. They're going to have to try and get this kill because there's a teleport coming behind, and they do manage to get it. Now turning this one around. It is a 3 versus 1, but Roach still gets one back, and he's still firing. He's got a lot of health as Sowan's trying to get the damage through, but in goes Guga. And he should be able to even this one out. The Wild Growth is already there, and Lightning Rush should get Sowan to relative safety. So nicely done from Jin Air to get out. But it's still just a 1-for-1, 80 carry for 80 carry.
Yeah, Sowan only just able to get out, still had flash because he could run away from the Cocoon earlier in the top lane. A lot of action sees Soul fall down a second time. But the fact that Jace is at full health or close to means that he can just swap in and out of hammer and ranged form, and first brick will be achieved by Kongdoo in the bot lane.
And this game is so incredibly close. Definitely Kongdoo able to bounce back after what was a brutal defeat in game number 2. You can see Umti, he was up towards the top side of the map. He's trying to get that top turret down. As Soul's already transitioned up there, but let's see how it all began.
Let's see the replay. Kuzan had nowhere to juke. Remember, he doesn't have boots. He actually just rushed Athene straight up. So nothing he could do there. Just tried to make the most of it. Soul still gets off the ult because he buffers it before he's hit by the stun duration. They go completely all in onto Soul, but because Jace teleports first, which is understandable, Kennen didn't see him teleport. It was off screen, so he had to react and was always going to be second. Able to take down Ashe pretty quickly as Google walks up, as Syndra is rotating over after getting the kill in mid lane. So we're always going to be outnumbered, Jin in the bot lane. So the fact that it ended up going 1-for-1, it's actually pretty good given the rest of the circumstances.
Well, speaking of circumstances, Roach is dead on the top side of the map. Umpty says, yes, well, I was here before. I mean, surely you'd understand that I'm going to be back. And now they're going to be able to capitalize on the work he did to this turret. So they should be able to even out the turrets. Of course, no extra gold, but still a good news story. And you can see Kongdoo way behind the 8 ball as far as defending that is concerned.
Yeah, first thought was to react, then they realized no way it was going to be DPS down by an on-hit cannon and a Lee Sin. So back away, will claim their own red buff. At least Kongdoo are getting jungle camps. That's something that it's not happening for them in the previous game.
And now Kuzan's completed his anti-Syndra build for the beginnings, as those Merc Treads have now been completed. So Pupper, exactly what you said. I mean, not having the boots was very difficult last time around. Now things are going to change. That's the Mantrid Q that's going to go completely wide in the mid lane. Is now Teddy. He's going to get caught completely out of position. Not entirely sure what they were doing. Kongdoo Monster just collapsed on the Ashe. They're able to take him down. Yeah,
Jin's mistake. Remember, they have double control ward in the top side of the map, but no sort of defensive vision on this side. Had no idea what was happening. And yep, red buff is a buff too far. No need for them to walk up. They were only maximum going to give up a couple of camps, but understandably, in the context of the series, but not in the context of the game, they overextend. Too brazen in their defense of their own buffs, and good to see Kongdoo still playing as if it's a best of 1 rather than the best of 5 it's been so far.
Yep. Good scat of the week. Gets Kuzan out of tether range of that W, as Umpty's just going to get ulted. Interesting. Not going to find any kills here, but just going to try and make sure that the Lee Sin isn't as healthy as he was before.
Which sounds like an empty thing, but with blue buffs spawning, you could chunk out the Lee Sin and then go for a contest. If they actually did have that sort of a coordinated play, then it would be with some merit, but clearly was just a bit of a party ultimate.
Yep, I like it though. It's just showing that Edge is certainly ready to win this game.
Look, you've been casting Doinby too long. Your eyes have been too close to the sun.
No, what that is like, oh, my ultimate's off cooldown? Quickly, we have to use it, otherwise we're not being effective with our button usage. Because every time an ultimate is on cooldown, it means that you're being efficient with it. Keep things on cooldown, Papa Smithy, that's the rule.
Maybe he just knows the interest rates are low, so he just wants to spend, you know?
Yeah. Perfect. See, our economics class certainly paying off. I'm really glad I signed up for that one with you, Papa Smithy.
League of Legends economics.
Yeah, it's good. Ooh, Umpty sees the explosion, knows that there's a punch about. He's going to use Soan to get himself all the way out. Wasn't a red buff able to be stolen, of course hasn't spawned, so no dice on that front. You can see now Kongdoo just scouting about their own jungle, trying to find someone.
Guess you're wondering, Kuzan did max Q, so needs it for the lane control. The support build is to go 3 points Q into maxing shield, but wave clear is the name of the game for mid laners, so don't have that freedom if you're mid lane Karma.
Yep. Ooh, how do you feel about this, Papa Smithy? It looks like a needlessly large rod is picked up, and will that be the Ludens, or do you think it'll be the Rabbidan's Deathcap for the full support? Let's get as big a shields as possible.
Well, it's not going to be the Aether Wisp, which was, Aether Wisp into the Ardent Sensor has been the big pickup.
Yeah, that most certainly has.
That's what,
and Aether Wisp as well could build into the Luden, so if he was going that route, then he may have picked that one up first, because movement speed is king on the Karma.
Yeah, Ardent Sensor and the full utility build is what we've seen from basically every other Karma in the LCK. Ludens was always a popular pick for mid lane Karma in the past. You can understand it in this game, but it does suggest to me that they're worried about damage output.
Yeah, and that does make sense as well, given this composition. You have already raised that concern. This double bounce. I will mention every single one of them, yes.
Please stop.
It's Teddy once again in the danger zone. There are no Kongdoo Monster friends to take him down now. He's just transitioning now to the mid lane. One turret apiece, not really being able to break too much further forward on both sides. 500 gold is the lead. Kongdoo Monster, but that's nothing. Umpty's going to get caught, but immediately Snowflower threatens with that bubble. The Ashe was there. That follow-up arrow would have certainly landed. No, as it stands, everyone just going back to trying to farm as safely as possible.
You just take the lay of the land. You work out, okay, well, who does a fairly even 18-minute game favor more? We're looking for Kongdoo to some quick plays as they do a little bit of damage to Kuzan, but quick objective plays, given that Siege comps have traditionally fallen off pretty dramatically in the late game. Plus they have very low late game initiation, because when wards are down, you don't really expect to be caught by Syndra or Elise.
Yes, true.
As Jinair, I feel like Kennen just outscales Jace when it comes to items in a split push. We don't often see these two champions run at each other and auto-attack each other to death, but feels like the added CC will separate the two champions when it comes to late game sieges.
Yeah, and just consistent damage coming out of the cannon as well is the big deal. It will have a lot more wave clear.
Double TP always outscales as well when it comes to map options. So it feels like Jinair kind of have the lay of the land in the late game as well. This isn't going so well for So1.
Yeah. Slicingly Maelstroms his way out of there. It's a stretch. Oh, it was a stretch. However, it does mean that Kongdoo do get a little bit of extra gold in their pockets. Extending things out. And Roach is going to be able to push down this turret. So relatively low. Jace, of course, one of the best turret takers in the game. So1 still here to defend.
There was an option there for Kongdoo to try and do everything. Basically, have Jace start the top lane with a low health cannon, at the same time start Drake, and then basically it's going to either be a very low health cannon teleporting in with no ult, or they get a free turret. But because they pull away from both objectives, they don't end up with either. They kind of gain the minimum of what was a really nice spot there, as they had a full health Jace against a low health cannon, and also positioning on Drake. But don't really turn it into anything and allow both Teddy and So1 to pick up farm.
Yeah, and I feel like the criticisms of Kongdoo Monster have never been what tools they've got for themselves. It's how they capitalize on having them, and this could be an opportunity to turn that around, as Roach has found. So1 punches here as well. Lightning Rush. Oh, there's the flash out of the way to the skies, but he still has the cocoon, remember, and this is a dead cannon. So squishy. Now it's going to be Jinair answering with this Ocean Drake, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be enough to justify the death of their top lane cannon.
A curious flash also from the cannon.
Yeah, probably knew that he was pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, the repel hadn't been used, so wasn't going to be making it away, that's for sure.
Humpty. Okay. That is one way to intimidate your opponent. Oh, he was just hoping that enough distance was going to be created so he could back right on that ward, but because of that ward being there, everyone able to just collapse on him, stop him from going home.
Because of being Karma, he got his shield DPS'd out, nothing more.
Yep. A-okay, So1 says, oh, I just regen all that health.
I mean, the bigger problem is he actually loses his home guard.
Hey, true. Perfect, look at that. Sol knows exactly what he wants to do. This is the next level strategy you get from Kongdoo Monster.
So1's going lane focused, you can tell, by going for, it looks like, the Frozen Mallet second.
Yep, like it.
To give Jace no options to kite, whereas the Black Cleaver is more of a team fight build on the side of Roach, given that we don't really expect any armor outside of the Ninja Tabi to be built by Kennen.
Yep, charge up those Ezreal auto attacks. Of course, Ezreal a little bit more likely to throw in them with the Blade of the Ruined King being so incredibly strong. Focus on autos is certainly up there. Not like the blue build, where you just throw Mystic Shots everywhere, even though that does still capitalize, because Mystic Shot counts as an auto attack, remember, ladies and gentlemen.
Very nice analytical conversation with yourself there, Atlas.
Yeah, well, you're already new. I figured I may as well finish that one off as Arrow's going to fly through. Oh, okay. Just blazes on past. Left stump there, you might say. His punch is going to get kicked back and delivered to Teddy. Kuzan grabs the kill. It's going to be Jinair with a fantastic push on this mid lane available if Edge isn't going to clear every minion instantly, and does so. So never mind. Sol turns around. QQ lands from Umti.
It's been clean on the Lee Sin this game.
Yeah. Landing another one. Oh god, Sol taking a lot of damage. That's the Luden's Echo completed, remember, from Kuzan, so these empowered Qs need to be respected.
Definitely at this point in the game, Karma just like the Talia, but even more sheer drop-off in the late game when it comes to damage.
Yeah, would like him to pick up that Leandri's Torment as well. Just get ultra extra scaling available. Extra damage options from all of the sources.
I feel like Deathcap might be the better purchase just for shield strength, but...
Yeah, do you go Deathcap Ardent Sensor here or something like that if you want to go ultra sort of pseudo-utility?
Feels like Ardent Sensor's a lot stronger when it's bought early than if you buy it as a 5th or 6th item and you get into weird spots with things like cooldown reduction, so I think you just skip past it for now. It feels bad, but... It's a weird game. Honestly, because it's double teleport, it sounds stupid, but Lichbane might not be terrible on the Karma.
I'd like it.
Well, you're into anything that's off meta. If I said the word Rageblade, you'd have to readjust yourself.
I mean, it also just reminds me of you playing any jungler ever. Tryndamere, I mean, what's the best item?
I mean, if you need AP ratios, you got to get them from your items sometimes, Atlas.
Maybe it's Nashor's Tooth Karma, my original favorite, which was Rageblade into Nash's Tooth. I don't know, you want AP ratios, that's the way of getting it. Don't need the Rageblade though, to be honest. The Q's going to miss from Umpty, setting up the trap. It's not going to be sprung effectively.
So now Kuzan's been squarely in the mid lane. Lichbane not as necessary at this juncture, so Deathcap's probably the next buy, but then I think you go pretty situational with your 4th item.
Yeah, even something like a Zhonya's could still be a good idea as well. Guarantee some tethers before your inevitable death. Deathfire Touch does increase your damage in the late game, though, quite predominantly.
Yes and no. Probably the only way you're doing damage to the backline is the AoE rather than the actual initial Q.
Yeah.
You only have one spell that applies Ludens and Deathfire Touch, which is your Q.
No longer able to explode a shield for extra damage as Kuzan. Cute little dodge, but doesn't dodge that one, and the arrow, not going to get there, so unfortunate. Jin Air were better at getting Kongdoo Monster away from this one. They would have liked to be. Teddy running forward. Does have that Hurricane, but the tower is most certainly going to die.
We'll see how the trades change now that we have Frozen Mallet onto the cannon. When the Jace under turret, you're not going to get any real value out of the slow, but there's a bit more tankiness and the ability to chase him down in a long lane.
Yep, the kite availability is certainly much better now from the old Kenny. Don't know whether that'll help him against both Punch and Roach, though. Have certainly been helping each other out a lot this game, as you can see in the scoreline. 2-1 and 0 here for Roach. So of course, managing to survive through most things. But Kongdoo have set themselves up quite nicely. Still about 1,000 gold lead, but you just feel like the control is still here for Kongdoo, despite Kuzan's fancy footwork getting himself out of danger.
It does feel like no one's in a rush, which we were wrong about.
Feels a bit generic.
Yeah, well, that ended up working out for Jin Air in spite of comp in game 1, but this game it feels like the comp is a little bit more set up for the late game.
Yeah. Of course, there's that funky Lee Sin power trough / curve into when all you need to do is land one kick and everything's good. And in the mid game, sort of struggling to find your identity after being a fantastic ganking jungler. It's what Onti is sort of getting through now. He's currently just being a ward on top of a ward, which is working.
At least it always has something to do. Gank power in the early game.
Oh, God.
Big power spike and ganking at level 6, a ward bot in the mid game, and then just defensive in the late game. So at least he transitions to all phases in a different way.
Yep. All right, Kuzan needs to build a Void Staff after whatever this large rod turns into. Otherwise,
does he
not
though?
Going to do any damage.
Does he though?
Well, even against just natural MR, Void Staff is very important to get.
But how much in the late game is his damage relevant? I think is the question. Does it really matter?
I just feel like in this composition, it is going to be relevant because he is the magic damage from this team. I mean, Snowflower's not going to be doing any magic damage or anything like that. And when they're not building much magic resist, you can see it's only Punch with a null magic mantle, and that's about it. And he will be a relevant factor.
Here's an intriguing question. You could argue more utility to allow Kennen and Teddy to auto-attack more.
Yeah, true.
Definitely different options available, as so on really it doesn't care about Roach at all.
Nope. He's got a red buff now as well, so that's going to burn down that turret for him. Yeah, I just find the whole conversation intriguing about like where do you focus your money as the ultimate flies through. Kuzan takes basically no damage. Cute little kick. And the flash immediately. Oh my goodness, Teddy. Just been a bit off on these Ash arrows. And that would have certainly spelt the death of whoever that landed on, but as it stands, just no one Gonna get struck by that.
Yeah, Teddy's utility pick was Jhin, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best
and you get
Jhins
4
in the
different
league.
shots on that.
Now we're watching the 1v1. Roach not enjoying it anymore. Feels like Kennen territory has been entered, but map control for Kongdoo is backline.
Oh, Edge! Finally, they do manage to find that pick. The blue buff was stolen, so Kongdoo at least grabbed themselves that, but Sol doing some decent damage back, and now Teddy clearing out these wards as best he can.
They just goes flashed away, or tried to did Edge, with a tether registered from Kuzan, and all the early ability power. It still does plenty of damage to Edge, so you're right. Buff transfer complete, but turret falls in bot lane. They're certainly going to get at least some damage onto the mid lane turret as well.
Yeah, and you can feel this game turning as Jhin just pushing down multiple turrets, getting pressure in multiple lanes, and as soon as Edge is not there threatening that instant kill on someone, just means that Jhin have so much control. As we were having a look at that one, but let's see how Kuzan was
Wait for
able
the tether.
to pick this one up.
This was a tether story. Flash tether, actually, surprisingly, not just the straight up tether into Flash, so able to pick up the kill. Flash was on cooldown, crucially, for Edge already.
Yeah.
Missed that off screen, what provoked the Flash, but easily to pick up the kill.
Teddy actually capitalizing. Triple attack speed items. Going to really help him, especially if they want to hang around this Baron area.
If people want to know why there's so much of this, double Zeal after Blade of the Ruin King, sure, there's the, well, more attack speed makes Blade of the Ruin King better, but it's honestly that every Zeal is such a meaningful upgrade in damage and mobility compared to, say, BF Sword Pickaxe just kind of stinking up your inventory and being such an expensive item that you just get power so much more reliably with every Zeal, and every Zeal item completion's 1,300 gold into 1,300 gold normally to get power that you just can't afford to thrift shop with your Infinity Edge, and a lot of AD carries really do prefer going the double Zeal route.
I just love Zeal on, Phantom Dancer and the Hurricane on Ashe as well. Just with how her playstyle works out, the fact that you can sort of kite around dive threats and things like that so effectively with the slows that you do have, and the fact that crit works out so nicely for her at the same time. In a weird way, of course, Ashe crits strangely.
Look at that flop. Holy crap.
Oh, damn.
That was one full Q.
And the arrow once again getting a bit of a goal here. Straight through. That one's passed to the keeper.
That's 4 in a row, I think.
In fact, I think the keeper even missed that one. So on. Throws down the slicing Maelstrom. We'll see whether he can get the health back that he needs. But Roach, such a power play here. Flashes over the wall. That's a big area there as well. And no more auto attacks from Soan, and Roach just asserts dominance on the bottom side.
With Phantom Dancer still is outclassed by the Flat Pen and also the Black Cleaver. The full early game build from Roach surprisingly gives him the 1v1.
Blade? He's got a Dusk Blade.
He went full all in on early game, but it worked out straight up 1v1 between the two. Now someone has to reevaluate when it comes to the side wave push.
He's like, damn, why the hell did that first auto attack hurt so much? And then he had to look at his opponent, press that tab just quick, and freak the hell out. Certainly would have too.
Scepter either to Bloodthirster or even potentially, there's 3 different good options here. Bloodthirster, Blade of the Ruin King was once a Jace item to profit off the W, but even the Mercurial Scimitar
would like it.
Make a lot of sense.
Split push.
I guess against an Ashe comp, Mercurial Scimitar maybe jumps off the page, but we'll wait and see.
Like any of those choices, Bloodthirster is probably the more likely one, you'd say.
But honestly, I feel like a lot of this game will be won in the warding from Kongdoo Monster, because they still have the pressure comp. They still want to take turrets, but you'll notice that their vision line is super, super shallow. They have no wards on the Jhin side of the map, so even though we see a cool duel being won, they can only ever get the minimum from wins like that until they actually group as, for example, just 2, the jungle and support, but there's maybe even larger groups than that, and actually ward up a side of the map.
Well, now you can see this mid lane should be falling as Sol's looking to grab those Sheen procs on it. Trinity Force done for the Ezreal. Massive power spike with those 3 items completed. Fun fact, Seraph's Embrace and Mirror Mana, cheapest items in the game. It is why you'll always see them on the far right of, or the far left, depending on which side of the map they are. So the inventories.
Certainly on the cheaper side. No more brutalizers stinking up inventories.
Well, it actually costs 0 gold.
Ah.
Which is cool. That's a recipe story. Another one. There we are, cooking with that.
Where's Alice's cookbook?
I'm bringing it out soon. There are side projects. Now that I'm here in Korea, Papa Smithy, I mean, there are a lot of side projects that I am working on. So you guys just watch this space.
Would you call them cheeky little earners?
Well, maybe not earners. Cheeky little stupid things.
I definitely defer to Atlas on my stupid things.
Yeah. That's why I'm here. That's why you brought me around. You're like, oh, it's getting too serious. Too serious and intelligent.
I just needed more Australians. Strength in numbers, Atlas. Strength in numbers.
Yeah, we'll be calling Andrew Pender. Get Moonglade back here as well.
OGN, Heroes of the Stormcaster extraordinaire.
Mm-hmm. Of course,
More
mostly known for being a StarCraft pro player.
The mid lane, the siege starts. Some damage onto Teddy, but they can finally get this turret.
Oh, arrow almost landed! Why would you shoot the one that can repel, though? That's a weird move, as Umti's just going to die. Sol says, well, yeah, you can try and kick me if you want, but you're going to be dead. Kuzan's in trouble. This Syndra's doing a lot of work, as Sohan says. You guys will be fine, right? Right?
He doesn't teleport yet. He's been late on the teleports before. He's going to teleport as early as possible. The damage onto Baron is massive from Kongdoo.
And they don't have a jungler here as well. Can Jin Air get in there and try and disrupt, at least get a kill somewhere? Tidal Wave not going to be the one to take this Baron down. Triple bubble, I believe, in the backline means that Kongdoo will take a lot of damage, but Snowflower takes a lot there as well. Teddy's trying to get away, but he gets stunned and will get destroyed. Kuzan will get out, but he's the only one that does. And Jin Air may have just given this game away.
Yeah, really nice chase available to Kongdoo. They stick on the Baron, like you say, no smite. A lot of potential steal from Kuzan because you do a lot of upfront damage with the Q, but Lulu was body blocking to stop that hitting. The minimum inhibitor here for Kongdoo Monster, and the eulogizing of Kongdoo's attempt to win in this best of 5 may have been premature.
Oh, most certainly. You never count either of these teams out for being surprising, Papa Smithy. This most certainly happened, as you can see. Double push fronts as Edge also taking care of that top side. This inhibitor most certainly dead. Kongdoo Monster say, well, we're going to take all that, head back home, spend all of our money, possibly grab an Infernal Drake. And then you guys will have to experience a 10,000 gold deficit and try to defend with the rest of this Baron.
We see the replay. Baron gets low. Smite was actually off from Punch, but in the end wasn't a worthwhile factor because there was no jungler to try and steal it and no angle for Kuzan to get the Q off. And even though they take down Punch, the turn is going to be there with move speed from the acceleration gate, from the Ezreal being able to arcane shift. Easy cleanup for Kongdoo Monster, and they profit in the biggest way possible with an inhibitor on the backside.
Yeah, well, Edge is in trouble. Flashes. Kuzan gets his way. Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, Snowflower's just going to die. So that's the insta-kill Syndra.
Oh, flash, baby.
Yep. He planned that the whole time.
Not even
Another
close.
day in the office.
Well, the bus driver seemed to show up late, but he's here for game 3.
Yeah, and you were exactly right. Mercurial Scimitar was the pickup here from Roach. Doesn't even need to worry about Ash Arrows, but I don't think he did it anyway. I don't know whether Teddy's hit any apart from that one in lane.
Missed, I believe, 6 in a row. Could be 7. Maybe less Ash from Teddy in the future. For a guy who's in a losing team and yet always kind of separating himself from the herd, this has not been a great game for him.
No. Okay, Papa Smithy, we do have the Ardent Sensor completed by Kuzan. That was the odd build that I sort of came up with, so may not necessarily be optimal.
It was more spend gold on something that will impact the fight now, because it doesn't look like there's going to be a later Atlas.
Yeah, precisely true. Well, Teddy just looking for whatever wave clear he can. This siege creep just a little bit too far away when Sol's being so frustrating. Oh, Kuzan gets stunned up. Mantrid Inspire does at least do some work, and now Kongdoo Monster have to move away, so they lose these siege minions. So one off to the side, but look at that, the Jace splitting towards the top, and when that minion wave gets there, then Jin Air have to make a decision. They have to work out what they want to actually do to try and stall this game out. Whether they can make a decisive move, try and pick something up in a 5 versus 4. If they don't, they will just lose different parts of their base. And it's already starting to happen. Roach is going to easily take this one down. Sohan, not many options here against the Jace and his army of minions.
No wave clear against the Baron buff, no options, as you say, for Sohan, and Kongdoo being pretty dogged and just pushing in the bot lane. And they closed the game that in game 1 they got close to, but weren't able to.
This is just sad times. All the inhibitors all of the pressure. That tower falls down. Not many remaining as in goes Umpty. Gets the kickback. The arrow lands onto Soul, but the instant QSS gets him out of the way. Good redemption. Gets the health back up as now Jin Air preparing themselves to try and get themselves around. This inhibitor is not long for the world, and despite a decent engage attempt, Kongdoo just too far ahead. It just seems like their health bars are too large for anything that Jin Air to do.
Yeah, the best engage possible, but the damage not there. That's what happens when you go utility with Ashe rather than a AD carry that does a higher amount of damage. It was a beautiful three-man kick, no bubble to profit off it, but no damage either. If you watch the replay here, you can't ask for any more from him. To kicking Edge into Soul and Guga into Wombo. First the QSS and the damage. There's no one helping out Teddy, who's doing fine. There's no mid laner grouped. Kuzan's there, but again, he's the utility side of the coin, and while no one dies, that means the objective just goes down.
Yeah, Kongdoo get exactly what they want. There's absolutely nothing that Jin Air could have done about it.
Now, 3 inhibitors are down, and what was looking like it could be a 5-game series will not go down in 3. We already had our 3-game series in the grand final of LCK Spring. This particular series, a big one in its own right to decide which of these two teams advances today, looks like it's going to go to at least 4.
Yeah. And good momentum shift here as well. I mean, could possibly be going to 5, Papa Smithy. Reverse sweeps happen for a reason. But Jin Air did look very, very strong game 2. They look controlled in game number 1, and they look a bit of a mess game number 3. Is this a trend is the question, or is this just the heart monitor that is Jin Air? But here's the push. Kongdoo Monster just trying to get the damage onto these structures. Soul dodging out of the way of bubbles, dodging out of the way of Qs, and he knows exactly what he wants to do. He doesn't care about getting damage on any of these players. He just wants to win this game. Snowflower! Oh my god, look at the shields coming out as Teddy off to the side trying to get the work done. Massive slicing Maelstrom right in amongst this fight, but Soan's going to get taken down. The super creep's doing so much work. And Kongdoo Monster's just going to rain down on top of Jin Air. The Glad Plane struck from the sky, and Kongdoo Monster take down game number 3 and save themselves in this best of 5.
Really big.